I found this really cool Swiss poster on Pinterest, and since it's Harry Potter season, we're going to adapt this to Ollivander's wand shop. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this technique using the Pathfinder tool in Illustrator. Before we get started, please subscribe to support the channel. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is just move this right off the artboard here, and I am going to type the letters O and V, and we'll just go ahead and get those on the paper itself. And I'll follow suit with this by making it a serif typeface. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is select both of those letters there. I'm going to create outlines. And since we type them as separate objects, they're already ungrouped, so we don't have to worry about ungrouping. And I'm going to move this to the center, and I'm going to select the O. We're going to go over here to the Align panel and make sure that Align to Artboard is checked, and we're going to align to center and then align to top. And let's do the exact same thing with the V, center, and top. Now let's select both the O and the V. I'm going to hold down Shift, and we're going to bring this all the way down until this perfectly fits in right there on the sides. And I'm going to go over here to my transform panel. I'm going to change my reference point to the top, and I'm going to make the width exactly 18 inches. And since the O is wider than the V, it's actually taken that number into account when we enlarge both letters. So what I want to do in this case is make the V exactly the same size as the O. So I'm going to uncheck Constrain Width and Height Proportions, and I'm just going to hit the up arrow to bring this up to 17.375 inches. And now I'm going to copy that value, and we're going to apply the same thing to the V. So I'm going to type in 18 inches for the width, and then 17.375 for the height. Alright, so both of these letters are exactly the same size. However, what I want to do is fill in these little empty areas right up here. So I'm just going to use my rectangle tool, and let's draw across that. And then we'll do the same thing over here, because I don't want any empty areas to show at the top of the poster. So now what we'll do is grab both of those little rectangles and then the V, and let's go over to Pathfinder and click on Unite. So now that's all united as one shape, and we can put that right back there. I'm not going to worry about these areas right here because this is where everything is going to overlap. Alright, before we do any of the cutting here, let's go ahead and get a color palette down. And I found this on Google. This is like a Diagon Alley color palette. And one thing that I want to go ahead and fix before we do anything is I want to kind of slightly bring this down a little bit to where it just slightly overlaps here, because I don't want it to look like a mistake. So we're going to select the O and the V right here, and before I actually apply the divide, you can see the paths where it's going to cut. So let's go ahead and click on Pathfinder and go over here and click on Divide. So it looks like it didn't actually do anything, but what it's done is it's cut all those areas where the paths are overlapping with each other. So now we can move over to our Direct Select tool, which is right up here, and we can directly select those little sections that were created from the Pathfinder tool. So now with that selected, I'm going to hit I on my keyboard, and I'm just going to choose just a random color over here, and we'll just repeat the process until everything is colored here. Alright, that's a nice even distribution there, and what we'll do is we'll cut this off right here at the bottom. And that kind of makes it look like the V is going down inside of the O. And it's always best to zoom in really closely, especially areas where you made any kind of modifications, and check for stragglers. But I'm not seeing anything in this area that we did not color, so we're looking good. Okay, this original poster over here was obviously designed on some kind of grid, so I'm going to go grab my Swiss grid so we can do the exact same thing. Alright, I've got my Swiss grid pasted on here. If you haven't seen my video on how to create and set up a Swiss grid in Illustrator, check that out right up here. Okay, so I'm thinking that what we'll do is type in Ollivander's right over here, and we'll align it to this grid right here. And this font right here, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it looks very close to Futura, so let's go ahead and use Futura. And I'm going to set the base size of this to probably 60. We might make some adjustments there, because Ollivander's is a little bit longer than Olivetti, but we'll just kind of play around with it and see how it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is kern this. Let's get this looking exactly the way that we want to. Okay, that's looking good right there, and I like the placement of this, how it's just kind of slightly off center, but it is hitting that grid line pretty nicely. And let's just go ahead and move this to where it's perfectly hitting it. And we're going to move this right up here. Let's take a look at that in relation to that. Yeah, that's looking good. Just want to get the top of the glyphs right here to the top of that grid line. Now we're going to go to our type tool, and I'm going to go over here, and we're going to click and hold and create like a little square area right here. Don't worry if you don't get it exactly perfect. You can always go back and modify it later. And I'm going to follow the suit of the original poster here. So let's go ahead and change this back over to Caslin. And I'm going to make this font size 30% of what our main font is right over here. And I'm going to go ahead and paste some text that I had AI write for Ollivander's Wand Shop. And let's go in here to the paragraph panel and click on Justify All Lines. Now, one thing that I will say is that we got really lucky right here. Most of the time, this does not look this good, but feel free to adjust your text to make it all look nice. And one thing that I didn't realize when I was zoomed way out is that I actually went into the gutters right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these in to our grid lines right here. And we'll do the same thing down here, even though the text isn't technically touching the bottom, but it's fine. Okay, and so for the colors here, let's color drop on this purple. I think that looks really nice. And I think I'm going to change this to semi-bold. I just need it to be a little bit heavier. One thing that I might do, and just kind of play around with, is I might put some color bars down here that match our colors right there. I think we have 5 of them. So let's go all the way across right here on this color palette right here, and we'll see how it looks. All right, I think that looks really nice, but I think what we need to do is select our colors, and I say we bring it up to the baseline right up here, and just forget about the grid itself in this particular instance. This is one of those areas where you can feel free to break the rules. So let's go up here and bring a grid line down. That way we can match this exactly to the bottom of that baseline. And we already got pretty close, but I want to get exact. There we go. All right, this is looking really nice, but what we need to do is bring everything that we've created so far into Photoshop and give it more of a Harry Potter vibe. So let's select everything that we've created here, and we're going to hit copy. And I went into Photoshop and created a new document at 18 by 24 with 300 resolution. And we're going to hit paste, and we're going to paste as a smart object and hit OK. And let's go ahead and align this up to the top, just like we had in Illustrator. And right now we have a completely white background, something you never see in any of the Harry Potter movies. So let's create a new fill layer. We're going to go up here to solid color. And I want something kind of in the yellow to orangish range right here. And we'll just kind of go in this lighter area. I'd like something with a little bit less saturation. So let's bring it down to about right here or so. Hit OK. All right, I have this paper texture, and we're going to go ahead and move this over here to our document. And you want to make sure that your paper layer is on top of everything. So let's center this. Then we'll rotate this. And we're going to enlarge this to where it's just a little bit larger than our canvas. And now I'm going to change the blending mode of this to exclusion. And now we're going to invert those colors. So not only did that give us this nice Harry Potter feel to it, but it's also got a really cool faded look to it as well. All right, so let's zoom in and take a look at something. What we've got here is very clean lines in our typography and our overall design. And that's really clashing with the paper texture that we have here. So there's 2 things that we need to do here. We need to make the artwork look like ink that's been actually soaked into the paper over time. And then we'll add in a noise layer on top of everything just to give it a little bit more texture. So to achieve the ink texture, let's go up here to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. And we're probably going to do something between 2 and 3, and you can see what that's doing right here. It's softening up all of those really soft edges of our artwork, and it just makes it look so much more organic. And the rest of our text looks really good right over here too. The next thing we're going to do is randomize the ink texture by bringing in this dust and scratches layer. So I'm going to make this the same size as our artboard because we want it to apply to everything. So I'm going to enlarge this all the way to the edges of our canvas here. And now we're going to bring this down below our paper layer. And now I'm going to select both the dust and scratches layer and our artwork layer. And I'm going to hold down Option or Alt until we get that little arrow, and we're going to click in between there. And now we just need to change the blending mode of the dust and scratches layer to lighten. And you can see what's going on here. There's different random areas where the ink is actually being taken out by that dust and scratches layer. And the very last thing we're going to do is add a layer on the top, and we're going to call this noise. And we're going to fill this with 50% gray. We're going to hit OK. And now let's go up here to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise. And I'm going to make sure that monochromatic is checked. That means that there's no color in the noise itself. And I think an amount of 25% will be just fine, and we'll hit OK. And now we'll change our blending mode to overlay. And now zooming back in here, we've got a lot more texture going on, and it just makes it look a lot more authentic. And here's our final product, an Ollivander's poster from the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Putting together posters like this is a lot of fun. It really does help you to learn the Pathfinder tool really well, and it also develops your Swiss design skills. If you're wanting to get better at Swiss design, I recommend picking a subject or a topic, something that you really enjoy designing for, and base it around that. Right now it's Harry Potter season in our house, so I'm probably going to do some more Harry Potter posters. I hope this video was valuable to you. If it was, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.